Psalm 52, and this is a good example, I think, of what we would call an angry psalm. We know psalms run through all kinds of different emotions, and here I think the key emotion is probably anger. But before we look into that, let's remember today to be in prayer for our church family. And today we're praying for the Terry family, for Eric, Cynthia, and Chance. So we know that David is the writer of this psalm, and he is not happy. He is ticked off about this man of wickedness, this man who does not care about the things of the Lord. Well, thankfully, it tells us right at the beginning the situation behind this psalm is his encounter with Doeg. Remember when David was on the run from Saul, and he went and received help from this group of priests, that there was a man named Doeg there who saw what had happened. Doeg ends up going back to Saul and telling him about David, how David had visited these priests. And what does Saul do? He goes, he finds the priests, they tell him what happened, but he doesn't like their story, and he wants them executed. Saul tries to get his men to execute these priests who have helped David, but they don't want to do it because they know that they shouldn't strike down these men who are priests of the Lord. They fear God too much to listen to Saul's command, which is, I think, incredible of them. But of course, he turns to Doeg, and Doeg apparently has no problem with this. He strikes down, I think it says, about 80 priests of God that day, and carries out Saul's wicked judgment. Who knows why? Maybe he just loved to do evil. Maybe he thought Saul was going to reward him, whatever the case may be. I think that this psalm is David writing in response to what happened. He literally cannot comprehend the wickedness that he is seeing here. And in that whole first part of the psalm, he's saying, I hope God's judgment takes you out and just falls on your head completely. I think we can all sympathize with that today. When we see the wickedness that is in the world, it can make us just that angry. That how can there be people who take so lightly, who spit on the things of God, who just want to destroy everything about God in this world? It's out there, and it can make us angry just in the same way that David is angry here in this psalm. David says something in the later part of this psalm that stood out to me, is that he's talking about how people are going to see the judgment of the wicked, and they're going to say, look at that one who didn't make God their refuge. And look, we understand that's all of us today. We all, like Doeg, stood in a place of God's wrath. We knew that God's judgment was going to fall on us unless we made God our refuge. And I think we have to be super careful today. While I think it's completely natural for us to be angry about the evil in the world, when we rush forward and want our judgment to fall on them, or want to see God's judgment fall on them, I think that's a scary place to be, because you know what? If we really know that God's on the throne, we know that he could bring judgment on them, just like he could have brought judgment on us at any time. But the Bible tells us God is patiently waiting with the wicked, waiting for them to come to repentance. And when we read the psalm today, I think it should bring us into a reminder of that, to be pleading with the wicked, those who make us angry, those who we just wonder about and say, how could they possibly not care about the things of God and not see that they're on the pathway to destruction? To plead with them. Plead with them. Come back to the Lord. He's being patient with you. Make God your refuge. I was where you were. I didn't know just how badly I needed God's salvation. So I'm thankful for the psalm today. I pray that it's a blessing to you. If God reveals something to you out of this psalm, I ask for you to share it with us on Facebook. What is God speaking to you today? When we feel anger today, looking at the wickedness that we see in the world, let it remind us to lift those people up to God and to plead with them. Make God your refuge.